So first of all, it's thing is
Right, that's why you already got it. We
I
on
get.
that.
I guess I was muted. I didn't know.
Wow.
Well, so we are back tonight with another episode of Pain Reality. So yes, we did not go live last week, but we had to move.
We did. We
We
moved.
moved. We got resettled, realigned.
This is a totally different background.
It is actually
Same couch, different wall.
The wall is actually different. It is. The wall is different. But we had to take that time to kind of get set up. Like, first of all, you had me do the whole entire house.
What does that mean?
You didn't help me unpack. You
That's
didn't help
'cause
me set up nothing.
Oh my goodness. Don't be telling people that.
You didn't.
Don't be telling people that. Yes, I did.
Okay, I'm gonna give him his props because he did actually move everything, all the heavy stuff, with thankful for everybody who actually pitched in and helped.
Shout out Ty. Shout out what's his name? Samson. Yeah.
Yes.
What's Samson's son's name? David. Shout out David. He helped too.
He did. He actually really did help.
We got to get him his coat back. I told Samson
right?
You had his coat in the car.
Yes.
He looked at me like, yeah.
I don't think they even realized his coat was gone.
No, he didn't.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So we are officially moved, settled in, unpacked. Few little finishing touches, as the woman I'll be doing. But other than that, we're good to go to get back on track. Coming on weekly. Actually, it might better serve to do bi-weekly though.
Why?
I don't know.
Okay.
I just feel like, maybe bi-weekly. So, but in any case,
bi-weekly could be cool. That could be cool.
Change your mind that quick, huh?
I didn't say I wasn't against it before. I just asked why.
Okay, well, we might do that. So, in any case, the last time we went live, we actually talked about rebuilding trust, what that means. And so we got some good comments. And one of the things that came up throughout that whole conversation that we had that night was forgiveness. And I felt like the only way you could rebuild trust after trust has been broken in your marriage was you had to forgive. And so when we were talking later, trying to figure out what we were going to talk about, forgiveness was the natural conversation that we wanted to dive into, because as I said on that show, I feel like at some point in your marriage you're going to have to forgive your spouse for something, especially the longer you're married. I just feel like it comes up. Sometimes they might do something and they might not even know they did it, but it affected you in a way that you had to think about forgiveness. So we're going to talk about it tonight. We're going to delve into forgiveness in your marriage and what that looks like. But I had an amazing idea to invite a couple on to actually have this conversation with us. So we are going to add the moles into this conversation. Because we want to delve in and we wanted to have the perspective of another couple to have this conversation with us. So I am going to bring them on what I always term the stage.
Without further ado, as they say.
Without further ado, we're going to add the moles in. Hey, guys.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you guys?
We are good. I said, I'm nervous.
Don't be.
I mean, Jew gets on here all the time, and I just be like, oh, for one who never talks.
Oh my gosh! Like, one, congratulations on moving. I didn't think about it. Come on, Sam Couch, new wall.
Yep,
new wall. Woo.
Yes. So can you guys tell us a little bit about yourselves? How long you've been married, kids, all that good stuff?
You want to do that? Come back. Where you go?
Hi, my name is Mike.
He just put on lotion. So,
Hey, you
so
gotta do what
we
you
have
gotta
been
do.
married.
You gonna be telling my business what I did off camera?
Sorry.
I moved off camera on purpose. You see this?
On purpose.
Yep.
Forgive me.
I feel you.
Well, don't worry. Just wait till I get to talking about forgiveness. I might need some after this show.
Anyway, so we have been married for 4 years.
Awesome.
We have 5 children. Our baby just turned 2.
Oh, he sure did, didn't he?
Yeah. The day after his birthday, he
Shout
turned
out.
2. And our oldest is 18. And so we have some more in between.
Yeah.
We have a nice, we have,
Wait, let
we
me
are,
correct something. We have 5.
oh my
I
Lord.
have 6. Let's just get it correct. Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you.
We are a very blended family.
Yes. We're actually going to do a show.
Blended and blessed.
Yep. We're doing that. Like, I'm actually figure out some other couples because blending, and blessed is, the end goal. But it's rough. It can be rough. And so I actually do want to have that conversation as well. Some of those humps that some of us had to climb to get to the we happy and blessed part.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna invite y'all back when we do that. We talked about it at one point, but it was more funny, haha. It was me and Jude thinking about some of our times, but I actually want to dive into the stuff that some people just don't talk about when we're talking about blending families. So
right.
But yeah, so I'll do that.
Come on, next live.
I know, right? So, as we said, we are going to talk about forgiveness tonight, y'all. I think that is a conversation, especially when you think about marriage. That's one of those conversations that just has to be had because a lot of times I feel like people bury their hurts and stuff in marriage because you want to keep the peace, which I think fosters unforgiveness. And so when we had that conversation about trust, that was that thing that kept coming up. It kept coming up when we were talking about trust. That everybody was talking about forgiveness and, oh, you got to forgive. And, a lot of people ask us, well, how do you forgive? What is really forgiveness? How do you know you truly forgave somebody? So that's kind of what we're going to talk about. So our first question that Jude be actually coming up with the questions.
Did you say what's up to Marcus?
Hello, Marcus.
Hi, Marcus.
What up, Mark?
It
You know who that is?
went that way. So we wanted to discuss like what does forgiveness really mean? In your own personal opinion, like what does forgiveness mean? Y'all can go first, and then I'm gonna have you go.
Well, forgiveness. The way I equate forgiveness is like the way that I would say that God forgives us. That's how I look at it. I try to be that way. So like a lot of times we say we like something bad happened, somebody do something bad to you, then you say, I forgive you, but I don't forget it. You know what I'm saying? So I think that in a sense you have to almost forget the act.
Yeah. Because
if not, you kind of cling to it always in the back of your mind, or you keep bringing it up, even though you may not say it. And y'all know women is good for this. Let me tell you, they may not say it, but in the back of their mind, thinking, I remember last time you did, and last time, then you do something. So it's where you actually forgive the act and forget it all over. I mean, and now granted, that's easier said than done in most cases. But if you can bring yourself to actually forgive and forget it, I think it can strengthen your relationship, and I know it will strengthen a relationship, but I think it'll build the bond between the husband and the wife a little bit better. But you have to be able to get to that point that when something happens, you don't got to keep putting it in the index of the bad things that happen and keep bringing it up, a past history of what has happened. Because if you get upset and it comes back out again, I mean, you never really let that go.
Right.
You still was holding on to that. So
right.
In my view,
so it's not
forgiving
keeping a
and
record
forgetting.
of wrong.
Yeah.
Don't keep a record around. Plus,
This is a
if you
long
get
answer.
biblical,
What she said?
the Bible says
Yeah,
that though our sin is as scarlet, and He has washed us white as snow. So in that sense, when you wash something white as snow, it's pure. And you can't.
Oh my God. Okay. Cut. Beautiful, guys.
You gonna cut that man off like that?
Hey, you see this?
It's cool, brother.
I can't do my normal. I'm gonna behave. Anime, you better know. You sing for them other people, Anime. You better.
Oh my
You
gosh.
better sing, Anime.
Well, I kind of feel the same way. As far as forgiveness, it reminds me of like deliverance, where it don't have an effect on you. Because I mean, when you forgive anybody for wrongdoing or offense, which is the number one thing I feel, or just anything, when that thing no longer bothers you or like get your skin crawling and your blood boiling, you know what I mean? I feel like you've truly forgiven that person, giving them a clean slate.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, Kimmy.
So Marcus said to completely forgive someone is very difficult, like it's stages of forgiveness.
It can be.
No, I mean, I actually I agree. So for me, I think forgiveness.
I thought you was gonna let me go.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Nope, go ahead.
first.
Go ahead, because I don't want you to forget what you was thinking. Go ahead.
For me, like when I think of what does that mean? Like I've always equated forgiveness when I'm truly praying for somebody. Not the little skinny prayers, if you will, but like truly praying that person get everything that God has for them with sincerity. That's when I know I've managed to get to that point of forgiving someone. Because like you said, like if my skin crawl every time I look at you or see you in passing, or even scroll on Facebook and happen to see something you posted or you tagged in, I'd be like, ugh. And then I know I haven't truly forgiven. So when I feel like I've really reached that means to me that I'm praying for that person, that I'm literally in prayer like I would anybody else, wanting God's absolute best for that person.
Yeah.
That for me is okay. You've reached forgiveness at that point. So go ahead. I get you back. That's fine.
I did. Ditto what everyone said.
You can do.
No, but I mean, y'all pretty much summed it up. I just think like, I don't think that you ever really forget, you know what I mean? Like what somebody did or what happened. But like y'all said, being able to no longer allow that to like be a part of what defines your relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So like when Randy was saying basically like your skin don't crawl or you don't react to it, like that's what I thought is like I'm no longer triggered by that type of like, even if it was something that, hey, these are the things that were like red flags or warning signs that led up to whatever hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I'm no longer triggered by those things. You know what I mean? So whatever they are, they no longer make me like put me in that space of what's going on or like, okay, I remember when.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So just making that choice to, I mean, I guess not dwell on it, I would say. Or
so when you say you never truly forget, what do you mean? I mean, I know what you mean, but like
just from a natural standpoint, like just as human beings, like there's some things that you forget and then in life, and then there's other things that you, so like just naturally you may never forget what happened. So in some senses, it's like, okay, I remember what happened, but I put it in my subconscious, or like I push it so far back on the back burner that it's like that ain't even my first thought when something comes up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like I'm not saying like, oh well, because sometimes people do forget, or you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like they're so engulfed in everything else that's going on that it's like, yeah, I didn't even remember that happened.
Yeah.
You know
I mean,
what
I think that's true. I think some people get to that.
Yeah.
I think most people can actually get there. Um, but you know, people have done stuff to me and I'd be like, oh, when that happen?
Right.
You know, I really, and that's another level of true forgiveness when you like, oh, you did
Oh
that.
yeah, I completely forgot that even happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With a little bit of forgetfulness.
Right.
So Marcus said, from personal experience, forgiveness has based on the level of hurt I've endured. It's harder for men to forgive and forget because when we get hurt, it hurts. Yeah, well.
But I think that can go both ways too. Same with women. I mean, us being emotional beings, you know, we back it on, and you hurt us. It you know, in some cases, it can take a while too. So I don't necessarily feel like it's just for men. I feel like it can be challenging though for men to forgive, because I think it's a lot of humility involved in forgiving.
Yeah,
And
you don't look like no sucker.
man, you know, that man pride.
I mean,
Yeah.
let's be completely
I
honest.
agree.
Like, I mean, just hypothetically, like, if your spouse is cheating on you and family or people know about it, you know what I'm saying? As a guy, and you like, well, I'm choosing to stay. Oh, you a simp. You know what I'm saying? Like that could be people's response. And as a guy, you like, well, hold
Wait, is
on.
that squirrel? No, squirrels in my pants.
What?
Simp. You just say simp. Never mind.
Yeah.
It's a TikTok thing.
Oh,
Sorry.
Yes, it is.
Oh
Actually.
Lord.
Yeah. No, I mean, but I think women. I think honestly, I think women, because they tend to be so emotional. Um, and I don't know, maybe because we're women, we do see that differently. But women tend to be more emotional, so I do think sometimes even for women, for us, a lot of things are tied into our emotions when we're dealing with people. And so, because we tend to be emotional, I think in my opinion, it might be harder for women to actually kind of to forgive on that standpoint. And I don't know. I guess I'll say it this way: men have this ability, and this is just dealing with you. Well, this ain't a bad thing. That was like 2 weeks ago. Why are you still mad?
Hold on. I've said that before.
Yes,
Oh,
but I don't.
I forgot, Mike.
Hey, I've been there. Trust me.
But what I'm saying is, I'm still remembering things that y'all
right.
like. Oh, okay, that was.
It
so,
ain't that big a deal.
See, as men, once we get over something, generally we over it. It's done. It doesn't matter anymore. So, like a lot of times with women, if you bring it back up, we looking at you like, oh, here we go again. Like I thought we was done with this.
Nope.
You know. So, and a lot of times, what I was gonna say is forgiveness is also tied to sometimes, in order to forgive the other person, you have to first forgive yourself for feeling. Sometimes you might feel guilty or something that something happened, or you let something happen, or you didn't do something you should have, or whatever the case may be. So sometimes, in being able to forgive and forget a situation, you have to be able to forgive yourself.
Go ahead. My fault.
No, you cool, but I was just gonna say you just gotta sometimes get that off of you, because you holding on to it. Like, okay, I can give you a prime example. I was mad at my birth mother for years, up until I was like 25 years old. And I was feeling like, you know, she did this and did that, woo, left me and all that stuff. But I was really mad because I felt like I was missing everything that everybody else was getting, because I seen what everybody else was going through. So then I started saying that it was like my fault. I wasn't, you know, the kid I should have been. I should have done more. I should have did this. Or whenever something went wrong in my family, I would blame myself for not being the one who could fix it. You know what I'm saying? And finally, I got older, and it hit me like, well, you got to forgive yourself, and then it makes it easier for you to forgive everybody else. Yeah. Because if you don't know how to forgive yourself for stuff you done, because you know you do something crazy, you'd be hard on yourself. Like I said, you harder on yourself than anybody, and you take it and you internalize it and you think about it day and day and day. You got to learn how to let that go, and then you can deal with the situation a lot better when you don't have that stress and that in the back of your mind.
Yeah, that's true.
So what I was going to say is I totally agree, but what does the dynamic look like when that person maybe doesn't even understand that they need to forgive themselves? You know what I'm saying? Like when stuff goes on and the person is just like, no, I don't need to like, you know what I mean? I don't need to forgive myself. Like then what does the dynamic look like?
So before you answer, Mike, because I actually agree wholeheartedly. Because when I'm working with women who've been in domestic violence situations or even who've been sexually assaulted, that's part of the conversation we actually end up having, is because somewhere, although I can sit here and tell you it wasn't your fault, this thing happened to you. Most people, when stuff like that happen or some type of something hurt like that, they take on a responsibility that somehow because of something I did,
Right.
I did something, even if literally you didn't do anything. And so sometimes it does start with, I got to forgive myself for whatever my thought process is. Oh, I was sexually assaulted. I got to forgive myself because you know what? They told me not to go there. They said maybe that's not safe. Maybe you shouldn't go there, and I went anyway. So then now I've taken on the blame that if I had to listen, this horrible thing wouldn't have happened to me. And so first, let me forgive myself because I feel responsible.
Okay.
And it's easier to say, okay, once I can forgive myself and then continue to have that conversation that you really truly aren't responsible for the choices that someone else made that affected you in such a way. But that conversation I had that conversation all the time, that people really have to forgive themselves for the thought process that somehow this is my fault, even if it literally is not.
Okay. So sometimes the forgiveness for yourself can be like for your thought process.
Yep, your thought process. Because I mean,
Definitely.
think about it, your thoughts are how you messed up, like
Gotcha.
real bad.
All right. So what did he ask?
He said, would forgiveness also be based on the healing process?
Definitely. You cannot. I would almost venture to say that you cannot fully forgive someone until you first have conquered the hurt that they caused you.
Yeah.
Because if not, you're gonna keep enduring it over and over and over. So it's gonna take you to absolutely be able to get rid of that hurt and get over the hurt, not tuck it away, not anything else. You have to get through it, and then you'll see that there's the light at the end of the tunnel. Like, okay, now I can move forward. Now we can grow. Now we can talk about this, because the worst thing to do first and foremost is to have a conversation when you too emotionally involved in the conversation. So that's not going to be good anyway. And especially like I can't speak for everybody, but me, sometimes I like to say stuff just to like piss you off because I'm pissed. So it's like, and then you be wanting forgiveness for what you just said. Then like, oh, I can't even believe I just said that. Now, what was I thinking? But you can't let on. You got to keep that. You got to stay strong. But so if you don't let yourself heal and let that situation take care of itself, and go back to that saying I think somebody said where they said unforgiveness is like taking poison and waiting on somebody else to die. So if you hold on to that, if you haven't healed, you just sitting there holding that poison, and it's not helping you. It's only going to keep bringing you down. So you have to heal first, and then you'll be able to forgive.
And that's the part where I think that people struggle the most with, is that healing part, because people will say, yeah, I forgive them, or they're staying under the guise that they've forgiven this person or whatever, but you haven't dealt with whatever you got to deal with as far as healing. So then it's like, anytime anything happens, here comes that same conversation. You know what I'm saying? See, that's what happened last time, or that's when you did it. And it's like, wait, because you made the choice to stay and you said you forgive me, but we right back here on first base talking about whatever it was that we thought we was over, or I thought we was over.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I would agree. I would also say that, sometimes we as men, we don't address a lot of the stuff that we should, but that's a whole nother show. But
we as men
sometimes try to put time limits, especially when if too many people get to know your business, then you
Mhm.
really put a time limit. But we sometimes put time limits on how long it takes to heal.
Yeah.
So like, if someone did cheat on their spouse, you can't expect that woman or that man to be over that in 2 weeks just because they said, I'm working on it or I'm trying to get over it or whatever. Now you got to actually give them time. Just like if someone lost a loved one, you got to give them the time to go through the process, and then they can make a rational decision on, okay, I feel this way or I don't, or we got to take it this way because I can't get over this or whatever the case may be. But we sometimes like, well, all right, man, this happened 3 weeks ago, man. I'm good, man. So I'm over it. I'm through. And really, we don't. Sometimes as men, we never even processed it. We just was like, you know what, whatever. Put it in the subconscious, lock it away, and we may not ever say it again. But that don't mean it's not back there. It's like it's back there. And when something happens, sometimes it's like kicking the door, like say it, just bring it back, just remember, let her know what happened. Then you like, you don't want that to be the case.
Yeah, so I actually got a question based off of what you said, and I guess this would probably be for y'all. Like, how does that, like how you said, sometimes y'all just don't deal with it, like it's pushed to the back somewhere. Like going forward, and I know you said like sometimes you just want to say it, like get remind them that this, like really going forward, like how do you function after that? How do you function in a way that is not, I guess, bringing harm to your relationship, if that's how some men do? Like how can you be healthy in your relationship if that's the stuff that's kind of back here that's not being dealt with?
Well, no, because we as men have been programmed. This is the truth. We have been programmed to not show hurt, no matter how bad it hurts. Even as when you're young, a lot of times we are programmed to be strong and whatever. It's not like showing hurt and weakness. If you can't get over some stuff, it's like, oh, like you said earlier, it was simple. You weak, you corny, you like, well, look at this. You still stuck on that dude. And the programming that we have, something will happen, and in our minds, if we want to keep dealing with that person or that situation, we like, okay, if we gonna keep dealing with her, let's just drop. We just gonna move forward. It's never like, oh man, I really need to process. I need to go through this. I need to work this out. It's like, let's just move forward. Whatever, just don't do it again. And
that's what makes
to the
toxic people. I think that's why people are toxic, because it's stuff that's just.
I mean, I agree, but that's just how men.
No, I mean,
address it.
Yeah, but also that is a form of toxic behavior. And I mean, I don't think, especially the Black culture, but I think anybody, especially our younger generation, nobody is teaching us how to unpack and how to deal. And like you said, y'all get talked about. I think I just seen something where people pointed out all the men who became memes. What, Will Smith, Tyrese, Kanye, all those people who, publicly they had stuff done to them. And so they showed some type of emotion and everybody talked about them, so I just think we are doing a disservice with really learning how to unpack.
Well, yeah,
so we just remain toxic.
But that's why I tell young men now, like even the ones I talked to and the ones I was mentoring, it's okay to have feelings.
Right.
Like it is perfectly normal to have emotions. A lot of times, I know when I was coming up, like I said, it was the whole, hey, real men don't cry. Real men don't cry. And as a kid, like I remember being like certain situations, like I can think of when I hyperextended my knee, I'm like, I can't cry. Now inside I'm crying. Boo, man, I'm crying. I started, pulling the grass up off the ground and just doing stupid stuff just because I didn't want my dudes to see me crying. But I told my son when he had got hurt, I said, man, you can cry, you ain't got it, man. Right. I'm over that whole situation. And because of that, I can say this: I've had major catastrophic deaths in my family, and I can't even find tears to cry for them. So it has actually, like she said, it's done a disservice to me. Because I done have my sisters and close family member, close friends, and I just be like, all right, that's crazy. But ironically, a good movie, they'll come out a little bit.
But I think that like you said, I think every situation is unique in itself. Because yes, I think that if you don't learn to express your emotions or unpack certain things, that can become toxic in different situations and stuff like that. However, I think that because, like you said, of the programming and because of how we're raised and stuff like that, sometimes I think men are like, I'm not going to make a mountain out of a molehill. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And like when that's your mindset, I think that sometimes it's less toxic. It's just a matter of, okay, that's not that big of a deal to me. You know what I'm saying? So if I push that back and I'm just like, man, okay, I ain't about to use the energy on that. When it's something that is affecting you health wise or stress levels, things like that, or like you said, where you're just like, man, I can't express nothing. Then I think it's like, okay, that's bigger than you tried to make it out to be. That's when I think it becomes toxic. But I think as guys, we're taught and we learn. We're like, all right, man, I ain't about to make a big deal out of everything. You know what I'm saying? So some of the stuff that people may feel like, well, you should have said something. You might be like,
So with that thought process, do you feel like it's been processed and you good? Like, or is
yeah,
it gonna
that's
come
what
back?
that's what I'm saying. Like
Okay.
that's what I'm saying. The stuff that you feel like isn't that big of a deal. That's
You
how
just get over it. You just move through it.
you're processing it is saying, okay, this ain't nothing I necessarily need to take to her and make a huge conversation or whatever the case. When
Yeah,
it's
like,
something that you feel
like
like
the older generation would say, you know, you got to pick your battles.
right.
Pretty much what it is. You're just picking what you want to hold. Because some things, it's just like you said, it ain't worth your energy. It's like, man, all right, that happened. It's over. Let's move forward. Now, like you said, bigger issues.
You better talk.
Now
about
you
this.
gotta, you know,
Yeah.
you gotta be able to open up and have a discussion.
Because I mean, let's be realistic. I mean, if every time you left a swallow of juice in the container, I'm coming to you like, hey, we need to sit down and talk about this. You're gonna be like, you girl, if you don't leave me alone about this juice.
See, that would be you. That wouldn't be me.
Now I ain't leaving no juice though.
Now to be the play the advocate. Now sometimes also a reason a men or men don't do exactly what you just said, because women will sometimes say that we're complaining, and no men, or not no men that I know, want to be labeled as a complaining husband. Like, you don't want your wife to feel like you always complaining. You don't. You just don't. Now, you be like, because I know it's situations. I mean, if you took a room full of men, you ask them, is it stuff that your wife do that you know you just really hate, but you don't say nothing? Everybody in that room gonna raise their hand because you don't want to be labeled as a complainer. Oh, girl, please, you know it. Don't even
read these.
Well, those been on there for a while. Okay, so Starlene says, if I feel offended or disrespected, it's hard for me to forget. I will say to people, it's cool, I can forgive you, but I don't trust you because you don't wish me well.
Understandable.
Okay. Lack of forgiveness can kill a marriage. Trust and loyalty gets put into question. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Did you have something to say, Mike?
Well, I was just going to, I don't even remember. Just go ahead.
Sure?
Yeah, I'm positive.
Okay. Also, with men holding back feelings and emotion, it also allows us to see things in different perspectives. The more we sit back, think in silence, the better we know how to approach a situation and how to forgive. Yeah, I actually agree with that.
I would say that's pretty on point.
Yeah,
that's a lot of times why we do shut down.
Yeah, because if you just say the first thing that come to your mind, a lot of times you might as well pack your bags anyway.
You might as well go ahead and go because it's going to be a long one.
Lack of forgiveness can definitely destroy a marriage. However, the time isn't given to forgive depending on the situation. Everything grows around the situation and it's unhealthy. So that's actually leads me to let's have a little conversation around how can a lack of forgiveness impact your marriage? What you got for us?
Oh, you asking me?
Yes, you're first today.
Oh, I gotta go first.
Yes,
Shoot,
sir.
that's a lot of pressure, man. These lights get hot. Anybody got something to drink? Like the first 48, when they get that Coke, you know they told.
There's always a show or a movie reference with you.
Man. All right. So what's the question?
How can the lack of forgiveness impact your marriage?
Oh, I mean, it can make it over. It can make your marriage over.
Over.
Just because, like we talked about when we talked about trust, like you're making a choice. You know what I mean? The minute you say I forgive you, you're making a choice. Or when you say,
okay, can I stop you right there, please?
Sure.
Okay. So when you say you're making a choice, I think that's the key thing about forgiveness that people don't realize, because so many people, how do you forgive? How do you do this? Just like you can tell somebody in that moment, yeah, I forgive you. That's exactly how you truly have to forgive somebody. That's
Right.
literally the choice you have to make every single
Right.
day when that bone of offense come knocking. Like you literally got to make the choice that no, I ain't picking it up. I forgive you, and keep saying it.
Right.
So I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's literally what, you know what I mean? Like I don't like that like you said, when you make a choice to do anything, what do? You put forth the effort where you're like, okay, I'm making a choice to pursue this career, or I'm making a choice to pursue this relationship. Then there's prerequisites to making that thing work. So if you say, I forgive you, I'm making the choice to forgive you, then guess what? Okay, like you said, that means you're making the choice to not throw this thing up in my face every time. Like, okay, if we need to continue to talk about it for now, we'll talk about it. Get everything out on the table. But if you're just like trust, if you're making that choice, then be all in. There's no halfway. You know what I mean? There's no lukewarm. There's no, oh, well, I made the choice on Wednesday, but then Thursday you were snoring. So I got mad and I ain't tell you about it, but now I'm going to throw everything up in your face. You know what I'm saying? So like, I really think that if your marriage is going to work, both people have to be involved in that choice, so to speak, because while you make the choice to forgive me, I also have to make the choice to like do my part.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially when we're talking about guys being in the wrong because of that emotional being, you know what I'm saying? Emotional situation that women, I don't want to say situation, but yeah, just the emotions that women have, you know what I'm saying? So you have to make that choice to do things on an emotional level to where it's like, okay, I'm rebuilding, I'm building these bricks, I'm putting these bricks back up. You know what I mean? I'm rebuilding this thing while she's like, you know what? Okay, I can see the effort and I'm not, hey, or
Yeah, the
so,
nitpicking
yeah,
part.
not holding on and nitpicking part.
Yeah. So when I think I think it can impact your marriage. I don't know. I think like I said, I think forgiveness is, you just gotta find forgiveness in your marriage regardless.
Yeah.
Like it don't have to be that big old stuff, but at some point, forgiveness is gonna come up in your marriage regardless of what it is. But I remember when we went through marriage counseling, and Pastor was like, you got to make the decision on if this little thing worth fighting about, basically.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same that we got to think about when we talk about forgiveness. Like, is this big thing, am I going to allow this big thing to ruin it, or am I going to do the work to be able to get past this point and we still move forward and go on without pointing the finger every single time this thing comes up, or and not even that, every time that light bulb, every time the devil aggravates you and get to whispering, like what is your choice at that point? Like is at the end of the day, it's all about the choices that you choose to make. This is so funny because I was actually asked a question about forgiveness today. And a young lady had inboxed me, and she was asking because this lady had been sexually assaulted. At least I'm assuming, I'm assuming that part, but in reference to the work that I do, put it that way. So she said, some of the people that she's working with, I always talk about God when I'm out sharing my story of domestic violence and stuff. God is a part of my story. And so people, of course, always ask, well, how did you forgive? How did you do this? And so we right here. That's the next one. So I guess the pastor told her, if you want God to forgive you, then you have to do the same. And you know, some people in that immediate state of trauma have a very, very hard time accepting that from the biblical standpoint, that that's literally what it is. And so I always tell people, I'm like, we got to remember that it's literally a simple choice. It's literally like a simple choice to say, I forgive this person. And I'm not saying your words follow how your heart is feeling, but sometimes it just means I'm simply making the choice every single day to say, I forgive this person. Like, you know, my relationship with God is so very important to me that even if I have to work at this thing, I'm willingly making the choice and making the effort that I'm picking up forgiveness. I told this one lady, I said, you know, I like coffee, but I actually like creamer more than I do coffee. But it's like, that's my choice. I'm consciously choosing every single day to put
more creamer than coffee.
And it's the same thing.
Same.
Like, yes, it's like the same thing. Like, you know, as much as I like that creamer and I try to find the best ones to drink, because it's really the creamer, not the coffee. That's how I look at forgiveness. Like, literally every single day when I go push that button on a Keurig and start preparing, that's how I have to think about forgiveness and some of the choices that I make every single day. Like, I'm making the conscious effort to pour all this creamer in here. I am making the conscious effort to say, I forgive you every single day until it becomes a real thing for me. So,
well, can I?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I add to what you said? Of course, if I bring a scripture in, Colossians 3:13, it says, "Be even tempered, content with second place, quick to forgive an offense, forgive as quickly and completely as the master forgave you."
Yeah.
It says, "Forgive as quickly and completely as the master forgave you." And I think, and like you, it is definitely a choice. But to the question of it affecting, you know, how it can impact your marriage, though, I mean, it says you got to do it quickly and completely.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah. And I think that's the part that especially like, okay, you know, we say, we in the church, a lot of times when people have that question of forgiveness, that's the piece they can't accept. They can't accept what God has said, because I'm hurt. That natural side of me is hurt and offended that you had the audacity and the gall to do these things to me. And I think it goes back to you know what y'all was saying about, I don't want nobody to look at me like, I think your pride is attached to how you forgive somebody.
Of course it is.
Definitely.
So let's see what Joy said. Why not say anything? If you don't share even the little stuff, then you suffer in silence and may end up blowing up at the wrong time, and it will make zero sense to your unsuspecting audience. That's
But that's what we're saying. We're saying, like, it's little stuff that isn't a big deal to us or to that person. So in a sense, like, I wouldn't say that you're suffering in silence. You know what I'm saying? Because you're like making that choice to be like, no big deal.
right.
Now, if that stuff starts stacking up and you're
I think that's her point. Is,
oh yeah, if it starts stacking up and you're like,
snowballing.
all right, well, it the first 42 times it happened, it was all right. Now 43, 44, and 45, feeling some type of way. Then yes, we got to talk about.
So, you know, honestly, just exploring that, because, you know, I used to tell people all the time, literally, like, sometimes it takes years before I get mad about something. Like, literally, you can do the same thing to me for years and I'll never get mad. And then it takes that just one random time that you did the same thing that you've done for the last 5 years, and it's just like boom. And so, I don't know.
But I think when that happens, I think it's outside factors. I think it's, I'm having a bad day. I had a bad day at work. You know what I'm saying? Like, the kids get on my nerves today. You know what I'm saying? Or, hey, I had a confrontation at church or whatever the case. And then it's like, okay, they did that same thing. Hold on, man.
And so you just choose to take
it.
it off.
And it's like, that's
take the bait. You take the bait.
Yeah, take
Yeah.
that bait.
Yeah, you like, hey, the day is the day.
Enough is enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Forgiveness is a choice. Yep, just like offense is a choice.
Another thing about forgiveness, I was going to say, sometimes in order to do the whole forgiveness thing, you have to verbally say it out loud.
Yeah.
You have to make it an actual action because, as we know, the mouth controls a lot of what we believe, see, do, and everything.
You mean say like
you have to actually say, "I forgive you,"
Mhm.
and then sometimes you don't even have to say it to them. You just have to hear yourself saying it, so that you can start believing what you're hearing yourself say. Because a lot of times you be like, "Yeah, I forgive you, man. Don't worry about it," but you're not actually saying it. You're saying it just because you want them to shut up or you want to go on about your business. But you got to actually have the time to say, you know what, let me stop and really let you know, I forgive you. Even if they're not there if you're doing it as practice to start the forgiving process, I think the first thing that you should really do is really, maybe in your prayer closet or wherever, in your car, say, I forgive you, so-and-so, so-and-so, whoever. If it's your spouse, I forgive you. Because a lot of times we take those offenses and like it's been stated here, you hold on to them and you be mad and you're like, I forgave you, man. I ain't even on that no more. And in the back of your head, yeah, you might have forgave them mentally, but in your heart, you might still be holding that.
Right.
So you got to actually make it an action word. You got to give it more power. I forgive you. It has to be an action to doing it. And I think that that's one of the most important parts of being able to forgive somebody.
Yeah.
I think in a marriage, something, as you were saying that, it made me think about being an apologetic person too. Like when I think there was a time where I was prideful in my life and I wouldn't necessarily
never.
And you know what I mean? If I did something wrong, I'm just like, all right, whatever, get over it, or something, whatever. But I have found myself being willing or eager to acknowledge I did something wrong, said something wrong, or whatever, and it could have caused him to be offended. And I was, apologize, honey, I didn't mean that, or I apologize, I shouldn't have said this, or or whatever. And then I think that helps him. I hope it helps him to forgive me quicker and easier and better because I can acknowledge my wrong and I can apologize for it too. So
there's a quick way for men to forgive women. And anyway, another show.
Okay, so
all right,
who's quicker to forgive or apologize?
That is not
for
part
y'all.
of the question.
I know, but when she said that, it made me think of that. Because you don't want to talk about
that. I'm the quickest.
So you're the quickest to do what?
To forgive you. I'd pipe it, boss. I'd pappy.
So who you think the quickest?
Between who?
Me and you.
Me.
You need to stop right this moment.
You said the quickest to forgive.
No, I'm talking about forgive, apologize, the whole
nine. Oh, so hold on. It's all in a bundle?
Yes.
Like your insurance is all in a bundle, or can we separate them?
No, sir.
Because I think I'm quickest to forgive, but I think I'm quicker to apologize.
Right, stand on it, Jew. Stand on it.
Only because I probably do more stuff to apologize for.
Whatever, man. Whatever. Okay, so Danielle said, what if your spouse continues to do that thing that offends you when you've expressed how it makes you feel or that it's a major problem?
Got some deep conversations to have.
That means that y'all got a bigger conversation than forgiveness.
Because it goes beyond, at that point, I think it goes to...
That's disrespect.
Okay,
I think it goes to respect. It goes to respect. Especially if it's something that you've said time and time again. Yeah, that's a respect thing at that point. So, yeah.
I mean, I have some opinions on that, but that's another conversation.
For another day.
Yeah. Is it possible to forgive and work on healing within a marriage, or should the couple separate until the scars are healed?
Oh, it's possible. Been there, done it.
It depends on if both people are willing to try.
Yeah. I don't think, and I won't say that it's never the answer, but I don't think that separating solves the problem. You know, like just in a sense
It actually can create a bigger one.
Right, because in a sense of like, if we're separated, somebody probably going to do their own thing. Like, if we're being completely honest.
It depends on if you really say.
No, I mean, but I'm saying, like, if
relationship. Okay.
Yeah, but if we're separated, or you're making the choice to be separated, one of them two people is making that choice based off of probably, being hurt, offended, and I can
hurt people.
Yeah, I can go do what I want to do at this point. And then maybe down the line we come back together, but we haven't dealt with anything. So I would say, if we stay together in that house, in that relationship, and work on it, and then down the line we're like, this just isn't working, then you make whatever moves. But to initially separate, I think it's very rare that people separate and then end up back together.
So I'm gonna share a very transparent moment based off of that. Years ago, when we hit that bump, we separated, and I was done. Like, I always tell people, I'm the one that has said I'm done. Drew, I don't think has ever said that, but I have been the one to say that. And I remember, like, I have always been that person that I need God to talk to me when there's major life decisions going on. And Drew was at his mom's house, and I was still at the house, and I was praying, and I heard God so clearly tell me to call him, and he has to come home because we didn't need to be separated. And I was very offended. I'm gonna just be honest. I'm like, wait,
offended at the Lord.
Yeah. I was like, I don't understand right now. But I was actually obedient. I was obedient, and I made the call. And I was just like, we can't be separated right now. I had attitude when I said it. But I heard God say that. So now I'm at a point where I think separation is good for a season, depending on what's going on. But in the instance of what we were dealing with, God clearly said no. And we had to navigate those waters within the same house, having those conversations, being intentional, having those conversations for one. And that was how restoration began to happen, but it did not happen by us being separated. And I had attitude.
Yeah, because I don't think those conversations happen when you're seperated. I think people are less likely to engage in those conversations. Like,
and a lot of time they grow more resentment for the other person.
Because it's easier to be like,
room. You just gave room for the. Yes. I mean, obviously, all kind of biblical principles is coming through my head, but I'm like, you just gave room literally to come in between you guys. And I mean, if one person is not strong mentally, okay, so he whispering, tempting, all kind of different things where it's just like, okay, but at the end of the day, you are stronger together, communicating. I'm sure when it get rough, it's rough, but you still fight through it. You do the work. You know what I mean? Like, you have to do the work. What did he say?
You still gonna ask them if they want something to eat.
And they still gonna feed us.
Yeah, give me some of them fries. Get your own fries.
Okay, so April says, how do you learn to forgive your abusive ex and not bring the baggage into your new marriage?
Make the choice. I mean, you make the choice, but as far as part, I would say counseling or talking to somebody. Like Randy said earlier, unpacking that. Just making sure that you deal with everything on your end. You know what I'm saying? So that you're not taking it to that relationship or that next marriage and holding that person accountable for what somebody else did.
Yeah. I mean, that was us. Like, I was the one coming from an abusive marriage. But I think like me and you always talk about a lot of stuff that we talk about as far as our marriages is concerned. That comes back to your relationship with God. Like, it's literally a relationship thing. Because had my relationship with God been where it should have been, then some of the things that I brought into our marriage, I never would have brought into our marriage. Like I didn't have no idea that I needed to heal from an abusive ex. Like that came as my relationship with God began to develop more and more. God began to show me those things that I needed to do, that I needed to work on. Before my relationship with God, no, I'm good. Like, and I kept it moving, and there was some detrimental, aspects in our marriage that we had to face by baggage that I brought. I'm gonna say baggage he brought, like, but that's another story.
I came in empty-handed. No,
Did you though? So I mean, I think that's gonna come, April, with your relationship with God. Like the deeper your relationship with God, He'll begin to show you those things, where forgiveness needs to take place, how to get rid of baggage. A lot of that just comes with your relationship with God and really seeking God. Like I had to seek God about my emotions that I was hiding, about all the stuff that I was packing down and not talking about. I literally had to start seeking God, like literally just about emotions. And he was able to help me through some of all that stuff to where I was able to pray for my ex-husband and really, want God to do something for him. But it came with a relationship with God. And so that's how I was able to navigate some of all that. So let's see. When does repentance come into play?
Every day, all day, every situation.
At all times.
It's always a good time to repent.
Father, forgive us when we know not what we
got
do.
sins of omission and sins of commission, the ones you know and the ones you don't.
Yeah, that's literally when I pray. That's exactly what I say. Like, God, forgive me for what I do know and what I don't. And then, I also sometimes if I've offended somebody and I have no idea, God, bring that thing to me so I'll know how to proceed. Because one thing you don't, like, I don't know, maybe I offended you and he's never said anything, but you can feel that something isn't right. God, you me what it is so we can work on that thing so that thing is not there anymore. But like I always tell y'all, I pray quite a bit. So I can be in a space where God can show me. At the end of the day, if God begins to show you, it's less finger pointing, he did or he did or he did. Your concentration is, God, how you gonna help me, God? How can I be better? So
I think that's a big thing, because I think sometimes in talking about forgiveness, it's a lot of times, well, you did something to me, so I need to forgive you. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a lot of times directed outwardly, whereas if we're talking about repentance and we're talking about both people doing the work, sometimes we got to look internally and be like, well, what part did I play? Or what part could I have played in? Could I have played in what took place? And I'm not saying like you're controlling the other person's actions, but sometimes people do things because they are hurt or they are offended. You know what I mean? So it's like you said, like just making sure that, hey, show me. Let me make sure. And am I going to be perfect? No, but let me make sure that I'm not being offensive as best I can, or I'm communicating as best I can. Different things like that to make sure, hey, if we do have an issue, I want to make sure that this person can't look at me or doesn't look at me and say, hey, it's because of all this different stuff you did to me, and never once did you feel like or think you ever did anything wrong. You know what I'm saying? You walk around like, well, you did this to me.
That's good.
Yeah. What I have learned to that point, being married, I feel like, again, I didn't have it together in my single self. But being married, it was almost like it made me and it makes me do a self-reflection all the time. And I've told him before, like, thank you for loving me to better, because I'm a mess. So now, like, if he says something, because he see the at-home me, he see the private me, the me that nobody else sees. So sometimes, he may say, I did this or I said this, and it's a reflection. So that's where that internal search come, like, okay, well, I need to pull it together in this area. And that's where repentance comes too. Cause it's like holding up that mirror, like, no, but it's to make us better, better people in general, because now I can deal with other people better because of how I deal with my husband and my children behind doors. Now I can go out to the world and I'm like, okay, I didn't already sharpen my iron at home. I didn't already got my life checked. So now, I'm better. So yeah.
So Joy said, I think you also have to be quick to apologize, and the expectation is that better is implemented swiftly and consistently.
Mm-hmm.
Saida said, Warren is definitely the quicker one to apologize and forgive. She's still a work in progress.
Yes, come on, bestie.
Hey, the first step is acknowledging you. Let's see. Repent daily for reasons unknown and known.
And known. We know we be wrong.
Right. Repentance is never ending. Let's see, Mark. Also, we got to have discernment. Some people forgive with motives and vengefulness.
Yeah, that mean they ain't forgive.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I don't think they can say it, but whether it's truthfully a heart thing, that's the question.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to make sure we're looking in the mirror in every situation. Even if we didn't necessarily cause the issue, it doesn't mean we were proactive in helping things get better or preventive measures. Yeah, definitely. So let me go back to some of our questions that I thought I was going to ask. Okay. I found this quote when I was looking up stuff, and it said, "The fruit of abiding love is authentic forgiveness." And I honestly really I had to sit and I had to think about that, because when you truthfully forgive somebody, it is really an act of love. That's really especially in marriage. I'm gonna bring this back to marriage, because that was the one thing that God told me. He literally told me, the act of forgiving is going to be his biggest act of love that he'll ever come in contact with, from a natural standpoint anyway. And so I really truly agree with that. When you truly can say you love somebody, and when you think about it, that's how God is. Like, God truthfully says any given time how much he loves us. And he also always forgives us for the little stuff that we do, like even the big stuff that we do. So how can we as his children be any different when it comes to truthfully loving somebody and truthfully forgiving them? We got the perfect example.
And that's it's interesting that you said that, but I think it's a big thing that you said, every little thing. You know what I'm saying? Because when people say forgiveness, a lot of times people make the assumption that you're just talking about some big, huge thing. Where it's
it'd be the little stuff.
Yeah, it'd be the little stuff. It'd be the little stuff. It'd be.
Oh, hey. Now we can talk about the fox destroying the vine, maybe. Okay, go ahead.
Sure, G. But I mean, like you said, it'd be that little stuff, because like Joy said earlier, that little stuff becomes bigger stuff. You know what I'm saying? When you don't forgive. And that's why when we were talking about how guys kind of process stuff, that's part of, in our minds, that's part of that forgiveness, where it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't using energy we gonna go through enough stuff where that ain't worth the energy to not forgive, or to, you know what I mean, be holding a grudge, or act like that's something huge. So I think that's real important for people to understand, those little, and if you can't get by those little things, you have to do a lot. You already got to do a lot of talking, but you got to do a lot more talking.
You do.
Yeah, you do. But if you can't get by those little things and forgive for the little stuff, the little nuisance type stuff, you know what I'm saying? If you can't do that, then you definitely y'all should be having conversations all day.
The situation.
Yeah, right.
So how you quickly forgive something a couple should discuss at the beginning of a relationship?
No. There's no time frame to that.
You understand it?
Yeah, so she's saying, before we get married, should we discuss, hey, if we forgive each other, that's going to take 3 hours.
Yeah.
Danielle?
I think a lot of times people equate it to that scripture, don't let the sun go down.
Yeah.
As we love the scripture, that one don't always apply to everybody. And sometimes the sun has went down many a nights, and you woke up and it rose, and you were still mad. And it went down again.
Right.
I mean, I remember that scripture all the time, but man, when you
It
mad,
ain't always applicable.
Because we're natural beings.
Sometimes it lingers.
Yeah.
Long
I literally understand why that's a thing, because I go to bed and you look like Jew and I'm mad at you, but by the time I wake up, you look like a totally different person, and I'm just like, who are you? And then I'm still mad because all night long the devil been whispering in my ear, telling me all this stuff, just putting more salt on it, like, oh, remember he did that, and
Hey,
remember
what
he
Mike
did
say
that.
earlier, we could have dealt with that before you went to sleep.
He did not say that.
Hey,
He did
I
not.
get what you're saying though.
I know you get what he's saying. Terrible, man.
Some forgiveness, you know.
But I
it's
think the reason why
related.
you can't discuss that beforehand, or beforehand, is because I mean, in life we get hit with so many different things. Like the level of offenses be off the chain. Some stuff is.
Oh, sorry.
Do you want to make some more noise?
You open a chunky.
I mean, I just feel like you never know what's gonna come your way.
Yeah.
So I can in the beginning of the relationship, how some of us do, we put on this front because we've never experienced it before. So we like, oh yeah, I can handle that. Hit me with your best shot. But then it happened and you like drowning. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to handle a blended family like I thought I did. I don't know how to handle, your sarcastic mouth like I thought. You know what I'm saying? It's all these different things. Like it's levels to it. So you kind of just, it's like a faith walk. I think our marriage is a faith walk. Like we are following the cloud and the fire every day, and we make that choice. Like, all right, no matter what come our way, we in it. You stuck with me now. If you try to go, no, that's fair.
Hey, that's true though, man. You really have to think of it like, well, I mean, Jew has always had that mindset. I have been that one, be like, I'm done. I don't want to anymore. I have. I mean, I've been very honest about that. I have taken on, a new thought process that is not my conversation anymore. And I used to always say it like divorce is just simply not an option. But then when you mad,
it become an option, huh?
Yeah,
that'd be your first option.
That'd be the first thing you think of. But I think the longer we have stayed married, and I'm going to say again, the more my relationship with God deepens, God allows me to see our marriage in a totally different way. When it comes to forgiveness, when it comes to having those hard conversations and all of those type of things, I see it differently just because of my relationship with God. And I think a lot of times, we'll get married, especially when you think about saved people always talk about, oh, you got to hurry up and get married because you don't want to burn in your flesh and all this type of stuff. But that's only one piece of your marriage. Like that's literally one piece. Yes, it's a very important piece, but it's literally only one piece. And if that's why you're getting married, you're going to have a very hard time navigating marriage. Not to mention if you blend in a family too. Like, listen, we got to have that conversation because that's a whole different, ball game when we talk about marriage. When you're blending your family with, how I was raised versus how he was raised versus my kids versus his kids, and how we blend all that type of stuff together. It takes God. It literally takes God and a lot of forgiveness.
God.
I don't say it like that. But I'm just saying.
No, for sure.
Yes. So let me go back to our questions. So this is my scripture I found. Love prospers when a fault is forgiven, but dwelling on it separates close friends. And so for the sake of the conversation, it separates spouses if we're not forgiven. And I think that's how it impacts your marriage. Unforgiveness impacts. It's a divide.
Right.
There is no communication. There is no, Nothing really, depending on what the situation is. You know, it creates a separation if we're not forgiving our husband or our wife.
Mhm.
And so I think that's the biggest way it impacts. And you know, we all know marriage is ministry. And so if that ministry isn't taken forward again, there's that separation because there's unforgiveness in the midst. And so it has to be dealt with to have a successful marriage. You can't be successful in marriage if you holding on to unforgiveness. So
And you sleeping on the couch.
and you sleeping on the couch.
I ain't sleeping on
I
the
ain't
couch.
sleeping on no couch.
Boy, I did that once.
The transparency that
I
happens
don't sleep
here.
on the couch on purpose. I don't care how mad we getting. I sleep on the top cover.
Been there.
Oh, man. Hey, what Martin do? Cut the cover in half.
That's right. You give it to Slice, but I ain't sleeping on that couch on.
Head to the border.
Remember, I said everything is a movie or TV quote. This is where we're at.
Hey, he was so
That's like a man thing, though. Everything can be related to a movie. I do the same thing.
Gina, head to the border.
But at least you get his. Randy never know any other movies. Like she be like, "What?
Oh,
I don't get it. What?"
That's because
Not
you
good.
forces me to
Not
watch
good.
this stuff in the middle of the night. Like,
Good
same-
job. Good
or-
job.
He got me watching. Girl, I'll wake up to somebody getting their head blown off or somebody talking in King Joff. What's that throne? King of Thrones.
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones. All kind of stuff. I'm like, what? Having all kind of crazy dreams.
Yep, that's Julius Payne. So
Hey, it
Joyce,
makes for
the
good
blend don't work,
metaphor.
and that is very, very true. We don't have that conversation because you know we actually got a lot of blended families in our
We
church.
do. We can't have them all on the show at once, though. But
I mean,
we have a few.
okay, so this is as we kind of, I mean, me and you be trying to be done at 10, but you know, this wasn't a conversation that we could be done at 10.
That's why I ain't say nothing to you.
I see you.
I
He
ain't
didn't.
say
He
a
didn't.
thing.
He didn't give me the pinches that he be
Didn't say
giving
a
me,
thing.
talking about.
Dude, are you itching
Yes.
really bad?
Yeah, I'm not sure why.
I didn't do it.
Me either.
Mm. So on our last show, you say it because you
So on the last show we talked about trust, and one of the people that tuned into the show was like, he doesn't think that you ever can rebuild trust or get trust back. You just take the relationship in a different direction. So to me, that also means like you never, you know what I mean, can forgive. Basically,
Yes,
it's
that's-
just
yeah.
you take the relationship in a different direction.
Did we just put it in a box and lock it? And
Yeah, like what do y'all think about that?
Well, I think in a sense, I think it's true. I don't know about the necessarily a different direction.
I don't think you take it in a different direction. I think you take it to a different level because whatever happened here, if you learn from it or you grow from, like you learn from it or you grow from it or you do something, like something happens here.
Yeah.
So when you do forgive, you're now here. You get what I'm saying?
I
So
mean, they go back to that scripture she just read about, you know, how and the forgiveness can bring you together, but if not, it'll separate close friends. I think to go to I was processing that whole statement because you're saying go in a different direction. I mean, if you forgive somebody, I think that's a part of forgiveness is like almost to you stay in the same progress, but I think you just eliminate that part of it. I don't necessarily think it's a different direction though.
yeah, maybe it's just the choice of wording. Because if saying we going in a different direction, almost go to the point that somebody said, "I'm gonna forgive you, but I ain't gonna forget," or "I'm gonna forgive you, but I'm gonna bring it back up." Like that's going in a different direction. Like, okay, we were heading towards success here, but since you did some shady stuff, and now I gotta go through forgiveness, we're gonna go here. You get what I'm saying? So that's why I'm like, I don't necessarily. I wouldn't say. Well, I will say there is a true thing of forgiveness. because that's just what we do. I mean, if that's the case, our whole existence will be trash because we live off of forgiveness.
Yeah.
And we grow and we develop, we mature. So to say we're going in a different direction, no, but to say we're going to a different level, yes.
You just gotta level it up. You gotta push it. You gotta push the envelope forward and keep going. If you were going, like I said, if you were going on that track, I don't think you need to derail it. I think you just need to continue in it and just build on it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But even to him saying that, I think pride is probably a big hindrance a lot of times when we do talk about forgiveness. Is if my pride has been affected.
Oh yeah, there you go.
That's a different conversation when my pride is attached to it.
It is, and I mean, when we're talking about bigger things, so to speak, then a lot of times they're even like offense. A lot of times it is a pride thing. You know what I mean? Like you was disrespectful, or you know what I mean? Like it's your pride hurt if you a guy and your girl cheat on you.
Your pride hurt if you a woman.
I get it, but I can only speak as a guy. But you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, it's a pride thing. And then I think, because like being somebody who plays sports, like guys find motivation in different things. You know what I mean? So like holding a grudge is how sometimes a guy will find motivation. You know what I mean? So like, so like, okay, you ain't picked me up the last time we went to the park. I mean, I'm just hypothetically speaking because I'm getting picked, but anyway.
Pride, no, just playing.
Right.
No, I'm just saying, but like for instance, like that is corny, but like the next time you go to the park or you play, you like, oh, I'm about to go at him. You know what I'm saying? So like guys hold those kind of grudges, and like sometimes you can't necessarily turn it off simply because we're in a relationship. So like if you a person that holds a grudge, or like athletically you hold a, like in your relationship, you probably like, like I'm gonna hold this grudge. And it's like, so yeah, it's hard for me to forgive, or like, hey, we got to do something different because this ain't, you know what I mean? This ain't gonna work.
That's so much energy.
It is.
It's like
that grudge is only affecting you though. It's not.
Who thinks like that when they're holding a grudge though?
I agree. It takes a moment.
Do a poll. We're gonna do a Facebook poll. When you holding your grudge, do you really think about the energy that it takes to hold your grudge?
But it takes conversations like these for me to say that's just too much. Yeah. That's a lot of mental.
What we say earlier, Mike. That's why some guys are like, that ain't that big a deal. Because I don't have the energy to worry about that. Because I know something else is gonna come about that's gonna actually take some energy.
Yes. All right. So we got these last two comments. You can't compartmentalize forgiveness. I think it will definitely come back up at some point. I highly agree with that. Maybe it goes in a more enlightened or educated direction with an understanding of being intentional about applying what was needed to continue growing together.
I can see that.
Way too much energy, Saida. So I'm not going to read any more comments because that'll just prolong the show. But what are y'all's final thoughts as far as forgiveness in marriage?
Woo!
Well, I'll say this. Forgive. And oftentimes when you forgive, make sure you rekindle the flames.
That's a good point.
Going. You know, don't just forgive and act like y'all are strangers now because you forgave them. You know, do something that's gonna make y'all come together and really have to embrace that forgiveness.
Yeah,
because Michael knows how to treat you like a coworker.
That really is a good point, though.
Yo, a coworker.
I don't think people think about it from that standpoint.
Can I use your stapler?
Like we still got to rekindle after the
Yeah.
forgiveness.
That's a very good point.
You know, but yeah, I like that. That's a good point, Mike.
Yeah.
That's a very good point. And then I mean, I would just say, I mean, at the end of the day, you got married to to be together, and you are together in hopes forever. So you have to be committed to do the work. Like, we went to a marriage conference, and they said they don't want people to be, we just married. They want them to be just married. And I think you sometimes throw a lot of things just on the back burner because you're comfortable. And when you get comfortable, you can forget about forgiveness, and you can get complacent in a very bad place. So I mean, I think it's something just like you make that commitment for better or for worse, sickness and health, all that stuff. You have to add in to forgive and to forgive and to forgive.
Yes, I agree.
Mhm.
Period.
Mhm.
I got nothing.
Then you got to look at forgiveness as like protein to the relationship. Like it's gonna make you stronger.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. I think people hear the word forgiveness, it's like, oh, like
Yeah.
it's just something dreadful.
Don't let
Like,
him treat me like a sucker.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's literally what people be
Yeah.
thinking. I mean, in different ways, but
Chop
I
them
think
off, heathen.
that yeah. But yes, just for you, you gotta forgive. At the end of the day, you gotta forgive. And if you're not willing to forgive your spouse for, you know, stuff that they do know and stuff that they don't know, like you really gotta, you know, really sit and evaluate why you're married. Especially when you think about for better or for worse and sickness and health and forever. Like you really gotta think about like why am I married if I can't get past this thing, if I don't want to forgive them for this thing, like can you really say you in a marriage?
But that's the big thing. You say, I don't want to.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to. Because again, it's a choice.
yeah,
I don't want to do that. If you don't want to do that and you don't want to make that choice,
It never happened.
well,
Never.
then if you say I don't want to, you made it personal. And when you
Yeah.
marry, it's a us thing. It's a we. We are doing it. So like I said, and like I said from the beginning, forgiveness, it takes a lot of humility too. So
Mhm.
woman pride and man pride, it it can keep us in a very bad place. But when you get that understanding, like I need this forgiveness to make my marriage go around, then I think you can be in a very good place.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, definitely.
No matter how long you've been married, no matter how short you've been married, it's definitely something that you have to grasp quick.
Yeah,
For sure.
definitely.
For sure.
You still got nothing?
Hey, yeah, just forgiveness is a choice. You making the choice, there's stuff that come along with it.
Yes. Remember the coffee creamer. You're choosing every single day to get that nice, good coffee
Remember
creamer.
the coffee.
Girl, I'm gonna do it tomorrow.
Oh my goodness.
I
All right, we appreciate the moles for coming on. Thank you guys so much.
You're gonna cut me off like that.
Yeah, y'all about to talk about coffee creamer.
It's like neck and neck with how I explain forgiveness to people.
Are you gonna have some coffee with your creamer?
No, it's
No,
basically
exactly.
it's a choice. I'm basically saying forgiveness is a choice.
It is.
Just like you choose that amazing coffee creamer.
Yeah.
You have to choose forgiveness.
I got some
What
Rice-
is
I got some
amazing
Rice
coffee
Krispie,
creamer? Now I'm interested. What
I
is this
got
amazing
Rice
coffee?
Krispies.
You don't even drink it.
Oh,
creamer?
I bought, yeah.
oh my goodness.
Think about it.
We are
I'm gonna
off the
send you a
track.
picture when I get home.
We are off
Yeah.
the track.
I'm gonna
Oh.
send you a picture.
I
when
know what
get
you're saying.
downstairs.
I know
Look,
what
look
you
at
mean.
look at this one. Look at this one. Yes, I choose peppermint mocha creamer on tomorrow. Look at this.
Peppermint.
Look at how it started.
And that's my homie.
Rice
Oh,
Krispies?
no.
That's amazing.
Why don't we just make Rice Krispies?
No, in a coffee.
Hey, I'm with you there. Just make the Rice Krispies.
Rice
See, you
Krispies.
do make some good Rice Krispies.
Yeah, that's true.
Just make the Rice Krispies.
I'm gonna make some Rice Krispies.
That'd be great.
We appreciate y'all. Though. We really
Yes,
do. Great
yes.
conversation, man. A lot
Greatly
of wisdom.
appreciate it. So yes, I will be reaching out again when I put together this the raw blended family conversation.
Got 40 families on it.
It ain't gonna be that many.
It
It's
might be
very
a Zoom meeting.
because I'm very intentional about asking people.
Oh, I know,
They got to
I
be
know.
in good space to have those type
Oh,
of
I
conversations.
know.
Brady Bunch screen. Just
Man.
I know, right? I think I can get up to like 10 people on
Yeah,
on the thing. I'm just saying it won't be that many, but anyways. So again, everybody, thank y'all for joining us tonight. If you need to go back and get some of these wisdom nuggets that was dropped tonight, please do that. I have no idea if we're going to be back next week because I'm really throwing.
We're doing bi-weekly. We're doing
I think
bi-weekly.
bi-weekly. It probably fit.
We do bi-weekly.
Yeah. So in 2 weeks we will be back with another episode of Pain Reality. Talking about something good. God did bless us with wisdom in this marriage. And so we're going to find something else in our brains. These are random conversations that me and you have. We sit around and we talk about this stuff. And we just go live for y'all so y'all can experience the randomness that we talk about. So until 2 weeks from now, I was going to say next time, but it just don't seem like it sound right. So I need to specify.
It is next
they don't want that Mr. Rogers ending. Go ahead. Until next time.
Until next time, we will see you guys. Have a peaceful, blessed night.
Won't you be my neighbor.
And as Jew always say, because he watching the game too at the moment. If y'all have topics y'all want us from the Pain Reality view,
Carolina and Indiana.
Oh, okay, college.
Yeah. Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. If you have topics, you want to discuss, hit our inbox. Don't DM her. DM me. Don't be DMing her, fellas. If you a lady and you got a topic,
you know what? Okay, y'all have a good, amazing night. We will see you next time.
Hey, I'm just joking. Y'all peace out.
Were you joking?
Yeah, I was.
Okay, y'all peace out.
I was joking.